as most people know who watch this podcast regularly and or follow me, will know that I'm fascinated by the JFK killing. I've done various bits of content about it in the past. Always have problems with these mouses. So there's a podcast not too long ago where it first came up that Trump's definitely going to release the files. If anyone, did you ever see Trump on Joe Rogan shortly before the election, about a month, 6 weeks before the election?
It's time.
Yeah. And interestingly, one of the most interesting exchanges on that, I thought, was when Joe Rogan said, didn't you say you would do it last time in like 2016 and you didn't? And Trump, it was the only time where Trump sort of became a bit cagey.
Right.
Because Joe just straight up said, why didn't you do it the first time? And Trump, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And Trump's reply was something along the lines of, this isn't verbatim, but something along the lines of, a lot of powerful people just asked me nicely, can we just do it another time, basically? And Trump said, okay, now, anyway. But then went on to say, I'll definitely do it this time, almost straight away. And as you said, it was like, it's a cleansing, it's time. So, but what it seems to be, other content I've done, that there was a segment, that was that segment not too long ago, only a few weeks ago, really. I did a whole article about it, Dealey Plaza's Telltale Heart, there. You got me reading it, actually. And then a video was made of that. You can find that on my channel, History Bro. I also had a conversation with Dan Carlin once, and we talked all about JFK. Just painting the picture that I am sort of mildly obsessed with it. I did a very long form bit of content, like 2.5 hours there, with a great smaller channel, The Outcast Creative, where we talk all about Oliver Stone's film and the real history. So, what's happened? Well, if you thought that Trump can just click his fingers or just sign some sort of piece of paper and suddenly all the secrets are out, well, it doesn't really work like that. Or it looks like it doesn't really work like that. In fact, they have to put together a task force to sort of force the deep state, the swamp, the blob, whatever you want to call it, sort of force them to come clean. So you might have thought that the commander-in-chief, the head of the executive, can just order it done. And it seems like there's still resistance. Institutional resistance seems
to be very common in the States, unfortunately.
It's still there, yeah. It's interesting to see that. I think the first thing to note is that you would need such a thing as a sort of a formal task force. So it's not just going to all be over and done with like a plaster. It's not like one day all the secrets are out and that's it, like a plaster. It's just not going to be like that. So they're putting together what is called the House Oversight Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets. Sounds like hopefully it will do exactly what it says on the tin. And it's being led by Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, who is a congresswoman for Florida.
Famously pictured in several bikinis online.
Well, that was the thing. She's also in the US Air Force and seems like quite a serious individual, but was also some sort of swimsuit model. I don't make the thumbnails, but I believe the thumbnail for this is going to have her in
You have had some input in this thumbnail, in picture selection.
I don't have anything to do with it whatsoever. But there's an image of her, I believe, in sort of Make America Great Again swimsuit. It's not a Photoshop. It's a real image of her. Anyway.
And we know that people click when you put bikini women on the thumbnail.
Yeah. Beautiful women, just faces, arrows. For some reason, the psychology, if you put arrows on thumbnails, apparently, I don't know I don't know all the science.
Are we pointing the big red arrow on this one then?
Well, hopefully we won't be too crude. But nonetheless, that isn't a Photoshop. But no, she also seems, to be fair to her, sort of a reasonably badass individual. Seems like, from what little I've seen, she doesn't take any shit, sort of a thing.
Yeah,
so
pretty like hardline conservative in the States. Yeah,
it is, I think, funny to note that we're going to finally reveal all the deepest, darkest secrets. Here's an ex-swimsuit model to do it.
It's just like JFK would have wanted.
Right. Yeah, right. So, okay, this task force will come under the Committee on Oversight and Governmental Reform, which is headed by Congressman James Comer, who's that guy behind her. A very, very powerful congressman. Just like MPs in Britain, some MPs have no real power. A backbencher in opposition has got no real power. And then you've got someone else who's still essentially just an MP, but they're in government, in cabinet, extremely powerful. So just the same in Congress and senators. Some are powerful, some aren't. Comer's the chairman of the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, is among the most powerful congressmen. So she's got the backing of the right people. In fact, it does seem like, so one of the key things is about subpoena power. We don't have subpoenas in the UK. It's a very American thing. But what that is sort of a writ to sort of legally force you to stand witness.
Yeah.
It's like being ordered to court. You can't say no, sort of thing. And when they had the congressional hearings into assassinations back in the 70s, those committees were not given subpoena power. And people have always, rightly in my opinion, moaned about that ever since. Said that, okay, you put this thing together to have a look into all the assassinations that went down in the 60s and 70s, and then you made it toothless, clawless. You didn't give them the actual legal power to actually get to the bottom of it.
Right, that'd be on purpose as well. Make no mistake. Right. Obviously, that's on purpose.
Yeah.
I do wonder, how long has this Comer, is that his name?
Yeah.
How long has he been in power?
Not all that long. I believe he's been...
Is he a relatively newbie?
Relatively. I might be wrong about this. Don't shoot me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's been a congressman since like the 2014, 16 sort of time.
Well, then my question would be, he might be a very powerful person, but could this not all just be performative?
It could be.
Because how many people were around in the previous Trump administration, these powerful people that said, please don't do this.
Right.
Are they still not around? This is the problem, isn't it?
Who were they? In fact, if I was Joe Rogan, when Trump said that, I would like to said, who are those people that said that to you? Can you give me some names? Anyway.
Me being cynical, but...
Yeah. Well,
we need to have a cynical lens every now and then.
We'll just have to wait and see whether this task force actually does what it says it's going to do or not. I've got a clip in a minute and we'll watch it, but someone says, one of the journalists say, have you got subpoena power? And she says, I haven't, the task force hasn't, but my boss, Comer, has.
Right.
And he's completely on board with this project. And the other thing, we'll see a clip, I think is of key importance, is that it's all very well, it's good and it's okay that you've got this task force and a committee set up to look into it. But if you haven't got the backing of really important people like the head of the FBI, the head of the CIA, the head of the State Department, on and on and on. If they're going to stonewall you, then you'll still struggle. But it seems like, because the way that this Trump 2.0 administration is set up, is that everything's falling in line. It seems like, hopefully, the stars are aligning where we just might get to the bottom of it. We'll see. Only time will tell. I will keep doing segments on it for sure as things keep coming up. So okay, I've got a bunch of clips from a press conference they did. It was about a week ago now. And so Samson, have you got all these clips teed up for us? If you play the first bit that I put a timestamp on.
There you go.
Have had reasonable questions of what their government, which they fund every day, keeps hidden about certain issues. And for far too long, the federal government has not answered these questions. This creates distrust in our institutions. That ends today. The voters of this nation delivered a historic mandate to President Trump on November 5th. The keystone of that mandate was demanding increased transparency of their government and elected leaders. And the mandate of this task force is...
Yeah, so at least they're saying the right words, saying the things that people want to hear, is that, transparency, confidence through transparency. That's one of the key phrases they sort of keep saying through this. So, yeah, if you play the next bit I asked for. Turn it up a little bit as well for us.
When our founding fathers stood against tyranny, they did not merely oppose taxes. They defended the sacred idea of individual sovereignty. They declared that no government, agency, or title could infringe upon the freedoms of speech, religion, thought, and the pursuit of truth. For too long, the American spirit has been dimmed by a veil of secrecy, by a government that has grown too comfortable in the shadows. denying us the transparency we deserve. But today, we stand at the dawn of a new era where the light of truth begins to shine through. A few weeks ago, President Donald Trump made a historic announcement.
If you can stop it at the timestamps I asked for. Again, it sounds nice. We'll see if all this ages terribly or not. But it sounds nice, right? It sounds good.
Would be mental if this doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be insane.
Yeah. I mean, I just hope that, as I say, I hope it doesn't age terribly. And it's just one more chapter in the story of not getting the truth about JFK. And it's not just the JFK thing. We'll see in a moment that this task force is going to look at a whole bunch of things. We'll get to it in a moment. Just the first one on their docket is JFK. Okay, if we play the next little bit I asked for.
It is with profound honor that I have been entrusted by Speaker Mike Johnson and Chairman James Comer to lead the House Oversight Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets. Together with the help of the White House, our intelligence allies, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, we will be conducting investigations into the following: the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and Dr. Martin Luther King, unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UAPs, unidentified submerged objects, also known as USOs, the Epstein client list, the origins of COVID-19, and the 9/11 files.
Boom. 9/11 as well. Just throw that on the pile. Why not?
Right in there at the end, the cherry on top.
The Epstein files and 9/11.
Where's the Diddy list? We need the Diddy party list.
Yeah. Forget JFK for a minute. Yeah. Let's do the Diddy thing.
Let's do the Diddy thing. We need to know why all that lube was there.
We can guess.
So, I mean, this is great. Again, if they do what they say they're going to do, and I'm not sort of going crazy yet because only time will tell. But that's quite a remarkable thing, isn't it? I think.
If they can get it all done.
If they do it.
Well, I'm maybe I'm missing something here, but weren't they supposed to start coming out within 14 days of him signing that order? What's happened to that? Because that's what everyone else was saying. You know, sign the executive order within 15 days. That's when they're going to start being released. But that's not the case now. You have to have a task force that goes looking for it. Why?
Yeah.
I'm confused with where that dialogue came from, that it's going to take 15 days. Yeah. Where did that come from?
No, yeah, I know. I haven't got a brilliant answer for you. I mean, that's sort of the point I made at the top of the segment, is that it's telling, isn't it? That it wasn't just, you've got 2 weeks to get this done, get it done, rip the Band-Aid off, end of story.
Yeah.
No.
Because they've now had several weeks to hide stuff.
As she said, or hinted at, inferred, that you need the acquiescence of sort of the Department of Defense, Department of Justice, and also more things, the Department of State, all sorts of different things. Not to mention the White House itself, the FBI, the CIA. So, okay, can you play the next one where the reporter asks about subpoenas?
This will no longer be a task force that makes bold promises only to fade into...
That was about right, I think.
I think that was it, Samson.
Yeah. 3:48 or so, about there.
There you go. There you go.
This will no longer be a task force that makes bold promises only to fade into irrelevance or send strongly worded letters. This will be a relentless pursuit of truth and transparency, and we will not stop until the American people have the answers they deserve. We will cut through the bureaucracy, challenge the stonewalling, and ensure that the American people finally get the truth that they have been denied for too long. If we are to endure and thrive as a nation, we must restore trust through transparency. The American people must be trusted to think for themselves, to form their own judgments from the truth that they are entitled to know. We've been treated like children for too long and kept in the dark by those we elected to serve us.
There you go. So, again, fine words.
It's true.
And it's all completely true, right?
Have action on the back end of it, though, right?
Yeah. The whole idea that the idea of the Warren Commission being a whitewash and then never really properly reinvestigated. It's like, yeah, you're sort of flighty, hysterical children, the public. You're flighty, hysterical children. You're not capable of being allowed to know the truth. what nonsense.
Just
right?
infantilizing everyone. Yeah. Your own citizens. Just infantilize everyone. That's fine.
Yeah. Here's a set of clear lies. Just pipe down and be quiet and stop talking or thinking about it. That's what we've been asked to do. Well, hopefully not. Again, if they do what they say they're going to do. So sorry, the next bit is the bit about subpoenas. If you play that.
To 5:45, please, Samson.
Out there.
There you go.
Most replayed.
Do you have subpoena power?
Chairman?
The task force does not have subpoena power. I do. The task force is going to be subsidiary of the full oversight committee. So if we have to issue one, Congresswoman Luna, we'll discuss it and we'll take appropriate action.
But in full transparency, we have a great working relationship, as I stated earlier, with the White House, with the DOJ, with the Secretary of Defense, and the Secretary of State. The incoming FBI director, I think, will be very supportive, and we've also been told that the CIA director is very supportive. To put it in perspective, I think that this issue transcends not just one administration, but multiple administrations, and it hasn't been until now that we've been able to get people actually in positions of power that will push for transparency. Now, if I find that different entities in the various intelligence agencies are stonewalling us, I'm going to make that known to the American people. But as of right now, we are cautiously optimistic.
What's your priority list?
Yeah, so again, as I mentioned earlier, sort of the stars aligning, hopefully. You've got everyone at the very top of these organisations that are actually willing to do it, are actually willing to collaborate with ripping that plaster off.
I mean, you'll know if what they're telling is true, because you'll be like, it'll either be a revelation or it won't. It'll either be the most milquetoast piece of junk that they release, and everyone will just go, well, why did you keep this a secret then? And thus, everyone will know that that was just complete nonsense and lies, more lies. There has to be an element of a revelation here, because otherwise, why would you have kept it a secret for so long? Why would you have locked it? Why would you have stonewalled people? Why would you have put up bogus committees and things like that? Like, why? So yeah, there has to be a form of revelation. We will know whether they're telling the truth eventually.
Yeah. Why have they kept peddling for 60 odd years or whatever it is, just sort of false narratives over things? Yeah. I suppose. Well, again, we shall only see. I mean, if anyone wants to know my personal takes, there's a lot of the clips links I put up earlier, where I just completely lay the blame at the foot of Alan Dulles and the CIA, and to a lesser extent, the mob, who seem to have been involved in some level. But I could be proven completely wrong, and it's something else. Who knows? But it seems now, or she says, if you play the next clip, that there were two shooters, which right there and then is a slam dunk that it's not a single shooter, that it's that the Warren Commission and the single shooter theory is incorrect, or a lie. Let's call it what it is, a lie. So if you play the next little clip.
Our first investigation will be announced, but it's going to be covering on a thorough investigation into the John F. Kennedy assassination. And I can tell you, based on what I've been seeing so far, the initial hearing that was actually held here in Congress was actually faulty in the single bullet theory. I believe that there were two shooters, and we should be finding more information as we are able to gain access into the SCIF, hopefully before the files are actually released to the public.
So that's a remarkable statement, because that's formal coming from Congress there, right? That's not just someone who's written a novel about their theories and they're addressing 24 people in a Waterstones. That's Congress saying this.
So I've looked at paperwork and it was faulty. It looks like there's two shooters. That's pretty big, isn't it?
Because by definition, if there's more than one shooter, then there's a conspiracy. It's what most people have always really known, or felt, right? But we'll see. I think there was multiple shooters in Dealey Plaza that day in November '63. I think there may have been at least 3, possibly 4 snipers. But more than one is all you need for there to be a conspiracy of some description. And then finally, if we can play the one last clip of her talking.
I'm going to say, based on what we're actually looking to do with the JFK investigation, I'm looking to actually bring in some of the attending physicians at the initial assassination, and then also people that had been on the various commissions looking into, like the Warren Commission looking into the initial assassinations. There's been conflicting evidence, and I think that even the FBI at the time reported some anomalies in the initial autopsy at Bethesda, Maryland. All of those, though, seem to have been rinsed and repeated in the media to push a certain narrative that we don't agree with. And so I think that in order to put to bed some of the theories that have been out there on John F. Kennedy, we have to know the full truth. And the full truth starts with transparency. And that's why these files is so important for the American people to read for themselves.
Okay, there. She mentioned something which I think goes right to the heart of the whole matter. Because there's two things at play here. One, there's the original crime, the actual shooting event in Dallas. And then there's the cover-up. It's the same with Watergate. There's the original break-in, and then there's a whole different side of it is the cover-up. So with JFK, one of the things that not just I, many people have pointed to is the autopsy. The body, John Kennedy's body as it appeared in the hospital directly after the killing in Texas, the witness accounts differ from the autopsy that was done at Bethesda. The doctors in Parkland Hospital in Dallas said the back of Kennedy's head was missing. There's a massive baseball-sized hole in the back of his head because he was shot in the front, and the back of his head blew out, as you know, as you would expect, as the Subpoena film seems to show. But the autopsy pictures show this: the back of his head intact. So that's one of the discrepancies where you can just say, look, things don't add up, things don't line up, things don't make sense. Something is amiss. There's something awry. And the fact that she mentioned it straight off the bat was like, okay, maybe they are going to actually really, genuinely, thoroughly investigate it. So, okay, I do actually have one last clip where someone asked questions about 9/11. Where they say, what are you going to do about 9/11? Like, what do you mean? What is there to disclose about 9/11? And she gives just a very brief word, or maybe it's I think it's her, yeah.
Are obvious. What specifically, though, are the questions you're looking to get answered with regards to September 11th?
We just want the truth. How much did the CIA know in advance? But also remember, when you have only certain information that's shared with the American people, that's when conspiracy theories happen. And it's in my opinion that conspiracy theories can be detrimental. It doesn't mean that in the last couple of months we haven't been right on a few things. But what I will say is I think that we deserve to give this information to the American people. I don't agree with the stonewalling that's occurred. And also, how do we prevent things like it from happening in the future? And we have to know the full picture, and the American people deserve to know that as well.
Okay, so they're just a hint at stonewalling occurred in the 9/11 Commission investigation. Apparently, according to there was some stonewalling happened after 9/11.
Interesting.
We're not supposed to really remember that, are we? But anyway. So just since then, as I say, this was like 6-7 days ago that happened. A few things have come out in the mainstream media. Samson, if you just every few seconds click through some of these headlines, it's just to illustrate. The FBI suddenly discovered 2,500 or 2,400 new documents relating to the JFK assassination. Just sort of suddenly discovered them. Everyone, the Sky News, The Independent, The Guardian, CNN, The Telegraph, Reuters, even Al Jazeera got in on it, saying, oh yeah, okay, they are starting to say things that they did know. Because just to say, the Warren Commission, one of the most important people on the Warren Commission was Alan Dulles, the guy that a lot of people said should really be in the witness dock rather than sitting on the commission. But we shall see. There was a story that the JFK Library closed, but the next link shows that actually it was reopened like quite quickly. So that I think that was just a bit of a storm in a teacup story. But nonetheless, okay, I've taken up my time, but you can count on me to keep doing this segments unless I'm suicided by the CIA. I'm gonna.
Bo didn't do it.
Yeah, I'm not suicidal. I'll keep doing segments as more stuff comes out, because and not just on JFK, on RFK, and on 9/11, and on COVID and Epstein. So watch this space.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.